Stanley A and North Stanley B, and we begin with round one. Round one, questions correctly answered earn 10 points for a team first asked the question. 5 points goes to their opponents if they have the sought-after answer, the right answer. If the first team addressed the question does not come up with the correct response. There's a 5 seconds time limit. Only the person called upon may answer the question. No consulting in this round. As always, please speak up loudly and clearly. Please give as complete an answer as possible. The first response from anyone on your team is considered your team's answer. We begin with West Stanley, and this is your question. In the novel Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, what legendary monster is discovered in the Chamber of Secrets?
The Slytherin.
That is incorrect. Harrison?
A basilisk?
That is correct. Harrison, this is your question. Which great American writer's autobiography came out in 2010, as he had predicted 100 years after his death?
Theodore Roosevelt.
That is incorrect. John?
Mark Twain.
That is correct. John, this is your question. The children's book character Curious George is taken from the jungle and later into his home by this character. Who's the character?
Max.
That is incorrect. Stone?
John.
That's incorrect. Looking for the man with the yellow hat, also known as Ted. Stone, this is your question. In musical direction, what is the meaning of the Italian word adagio? A-D-A-G-I-O.
The end.
That is incorrect. Corbin? Time is up. Looking for slow. Corbin, this is your question. Arlington House, an estate that lies inside Arlington National Cemetery, belonged to this noted general. Who was the general?
Robert E. Lee.
That is correct. Caroline, this is your question. Charles Lindbergh flew the first solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean in what airplane? What was the name of the plane?
The Starshine.
That is incorrect. Jonathan? Time is up. Looking for Spirit of St. Louis. Jonathan, this is your question. In the Old Testament account, whose birthright does Jacob buy for a bowl of stew? Time is up. Last person.
Seth.
That's incorrect. Looking for Esau. Sorry, I can't see your name tag.
Sorry. Will.
Okay. Let me do, yeah. Okay, Will, this is your question. This symbol of Judaism consists of two interwoven triangles. What is it?
The Star of David.
That is correct, and that is the end of round one. We're going to go to round two. Questions are valued at 20 points if answered correctly the first time asked. 10 points to that team's opponents if they give the right answer after their opponents fail to do so. You may consult, but only after the question has been directly addressed to your team. You may not consult in any way while the question is being considered by your opponent. Anyone on your team may answer the question, but the first response from anyone on your team is considered your team's answer. There's a 10 seconds time limit to give an answer. We begin with West Stanley, and John, this is your question. What is the name of Africa's highest mountain, used in the title of one of Ernest Hemingway's short novels?
Kilimanjaro.
That is correct. Harrison, this is your question. This literary character was a half-human water beast who stole into Hrothgar's castle by night and murdered sleepers.
A mermaid.
That is incorrect. John?
Serpent.
That is incorrect. Looking for Grendel. John, this is your question. In a symphony orchestra, musicians are divided into 4 main sections. Name one of these 4 sections.
Woodwind.
That is correct. Also looking for string, brass, and percussion. Stone, this is your question. Which English artist painted the Blue Boy?
Gainsborough.
That is correct. Corbin, this is your question. This state has more 14ers or mountains over 14,000 feet tall than any other state. What's the state?
Alaska.
That is incorrect. Caroline?
Montana.
That is incorrect. Looking for Colorado. Caroline, this is your question. This flower is the emblem of the imperial family of Japan. What is it?
Cherry blossom.
That is incorrect. Jonathan?
The lotus.
That is incorrect. Looking for chrysanthemum. Jonathan, this is your question. The most famous of these documents describing the time before, during, and after the lifetime of Jesus Christ were discovered in 1947 in Qumran, Qumran. What are they?
The Dead Sea Scrolls?
That is correct. Will, this is your question. According to myth, whoever could loosen the Gordian knot would rule Asia. Who finally cut the knot with his sword, thus fulfilling the mythic prophecy?
Genghis Khan.
That is incorrect. John? Time is up. Looking for Alexander the Great. And that is the end of round 2. We go down to round 3. Questions are worth 30 points to a team if they're the first to be asked the question and get it correctly. 15 points goes to the opposing team if they come up with the right answer after their opponents have failed to do so. You may consult, but only after the question has been asked directly to your team. You may not consult in any way while the question is being posed or being considered by your opponent. Anyone on your team can answer for your team, but the first response from anyone on your team is considered your team's answer. There's a 10 seconds time limit to give an answer. We begin with Wes Stanley, and John, this is your question. In regard to the television show Doctor Who, what does the acronym TARDIS, T-A-R-D-I-S, stand for?
Time and relative dimensions in space.
That's correct. Harrison and North Stanley, this is your question. While the term rock and roll was coined, mentioned, talked about earlier, this New York City disc jockey is most credited with popularizing it. Who is this New York City disc jockey?
John Lennon.
That is incorrect. John and West Stanley?
Kanye West.
That is incorrect. Looking for Alan Freed. John in West Stanley, this is your question. Located in Hyde County, the largest natural freshwater lake in North Carolina covers about 30,000 acres and is known by this Algonquin word thought to mean dry dust. What is it?
Pasquotank.
That is incorrect. Stone in North Stanley?
Lake Tippecanoe.
That is incorrect. Looking for Lake Matamusket. Stone and North Stanley, this is your question. Who is the current president of a major nation who published a book entitled Judo, History, Theory, Practice, and holds a 6th degree Dan Red White belt in Judo and an 8th degree Dan Black belt in Karate? Who's this world leader?
Vladimir Putin.
That is correct. Corbin in West Stanley, this is your question. The Delmarva Peninsula is located on the United States eastern coast and is comprised of these 3 states. What are the 3 states?
Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts.
That is incorrect. North Stanley?
Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire.
That is incorrect. Looking for Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Okay. Carolina and North Stanley, this is your question. The name of this Japanese sport is translated as empty hand because it is a form of unarmed self-defense. What is it?
Karate.
That is correct. Jonathan in West Stanley, this is your question. To signal the commencement, the start of a baseball game, whose job is it to yell, "Play ball"?
The umpire?
Judges?
Be a little more specific.
The head umpire?
That is incorrect. Will in North Stanley?
Home plate umpire.
That is correct. Will in North Stanley, this is your question. Although the reigning British monarch serves as its worldly head, who is the spiritual head of the Church of England?
Archduke.
That is incorrect. John in West Stanley?
The Bishop of Canterbury.
Judges?
The Archbishop of Canterbury.
That's better.
That is correct. And that is the end of the match. Okay, we have North Stanley A and South Stanley A. Round 1, questions correctly answered earn 10 points for the first team address the question who correctly answers it. 5 points go to their opponents if the first team fails to answer the question correctly. There's a 5 seconds time limit. Only the person called upon in this round may answer the question. You may not consult. Please speak up loudly and clearly. Please give as complete an answer as possible. And as always, the first response from your team is considered your team's answer. We begin with North Stanley and Benjamin. This is your question. This common animal cannot live where the ground stays frozen year-round, all year long, and are often absent from islands, including Ireland and New Zealand. What is this animal?
The snake.
That is correct. Jacob, this is your question. The so-called lead in a pencil is actually this.
Graphite.
That is correct. Jacob, this is your question. This American university's athletic teams are called the Fighting Irish. What university is this?
Notre Dame.
That is correct. Jonah, this is your question. In football, this oldest collegiate football bowl game started in 1902 in Pasadena, California. What is its name?
The Rose Bowl.
That is correct. Noah, this is your question. This mid-19th century book by Harriet Beecher Stowe became a powerful force against slavery. What's the name of the book?
Uncle Tom's Cabin.
That is correct. CC, this is your question. In the Dr. Seuss book about the character Bartholomew Cubbins, how many hats does Cubbins have?
3,
That is incorrect. McKenna?
5,
That is incorrect. 500. McKenna, this is your question. The formal name of this painting is Arrangement in Gray and Black #1, Portrait of the Artist's Mother, but it's better known by what name? Austin? Time is up looking for Whistler's Mother. Austin, this is your question. This novel, written in the mid-1950s by celebrated author Harper Lee, caused a stir when it was finally published in 2015. What's the name of the novel? Time is up. Benjamin?
Go Set a Watchman.
That is correct. And that is the end of round one. Round two, questions are valued at 20 points if answered correctly the first time asked, 10 points to that team's opponents if they give the requested the right response after their opponents fail to do so. You may consult, but only after the question has been directly addressed to your team. You may not consult in any way while the question is being considered by your opponent. Anybody on your team can answer for your team, but the first response from anyone on your team is considered your team's answer. There's a 10 seconds time limit to give an answer. We begin with North Stanley and Benjamin. This is your question. In astronomy, this is the path that the sun traces in the sky during the year.
Zodiac.
That is incorrect. Jacob? Time is up. Looking for ecliptic. Jacob in South Stanley, this is your question. The familiar milking cow with the black and white spotted coat is what breed? Time is up. Jacob in North Stanley.
Hashire.
That's incorrect. Looking for Holstein, Holstein. Jacob and North Stanley, this is your question. In football, this is a play in which the quarterback retreats behind the line of scrimmage and then tosses a short pass to a receiver waiting behind several blockers. What's the play?
A lateral.
That is incorrect. Jonah and South Stanley?
A screen.
That's correct. Screen pass. Jonah and South Stanley, this is your question. This basketball player won the 2015 NBA National Basketball Association Most Valuable Player Award, which is not surprising since both his father and his brother are past and present professional basketball players. Who is he?
Steph Curry.
That is correct. Noah and North Stanley, this is your question. North Carolina's colonial settlements between the Neuse and Pamlico rivers were attacked by which tribe of Indians in 1711?
Pasquotank.
That is incorrect. CC in South Stanley?
Iroquois.
That is incorrect. Is that? She gave an incorrect answer. Okay. Looking for Tuscarora. CC and South Stanley, this is your question. The Nobel Peace Prize is awarded in Oslo, Norway, but the other 5 Nobel Prizes are awarded in what European city?
Geneva.
That is incorrect. McKenna and North Stanley?
Paris, France.
That is incorrect. Looking for Stockholm, Sweden. McKenna and North Stanley, this is your question. Name the former federal prison located in San Francisco Bay, which is now part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area.
Alcatraz.
That is correct. Austin and South Stanley, this is your question. Kim Philby, Philby, was infamous as a member of the Cambridge Five. What was he famous for?
Science.
Time is up. Benjamin and North Stanley?
What is extortion?
That's incorrect. Looking for a spy for the Soviet Union. And that's the end of round 2. Round 3 questions are worth 30 points to a team if they're the first to be asked the question and give the desired information, the right answer. 15 points goes to the opposing team if they come up with the right answer. You may consult, but only after the question has been directly addressed to your team. You may not consult in any way while the question is being considered by your opponent. Anybody on your team may answer the question for your team, but the first response from anyone on your team is considered your team's answer. There's a 10 seconds time limit to give an answer. We begin with North Stanley and Benjamin. This is your question. About 100,000 Jamaicans belong to a religious and political movement called Rastafarianism, Rastafarianism, whose early followers believed in the divinity of this man. Who's the man?
Bob Marley.
That is incorrect. Jacob in South Stanley?
I had no idea. What man? Okay.
Time is up. Looking for Haile Selassie. Jacob in South Stanley, this is your question. What literary character pursues both Mina Murray and Lucy Westenra and is in turn pursued by Mina's fiancé, Jonathan Harker? Time is up. Jacob in North Stanley?
Felisa Bergenstein.
That is incorrect. Looking for Dracula. Jacob in North Stanley, this is your question. In 1956, this American playwright, once married to Marilyn Monroe, was questioned by the House Un-American Activities Committee and refused to name people as communist. Name the playwright.
Arthur Miller.
That is correct. Jonah and South Stanley, this is your question. This principle states that in philosophy or science, a problem should be stated in its most basic and most simplest terms. What is it? Time is up. Noah and North Stanley.
Keep it simple, stupid.
That is correct. Kiss or Occam's razor. But that is correct. Okay. Where am I at? Noah, okay. All right. Noah and North Stanley, this is your question. What does the shape of a reptile's pupil indicate?
How well it can see?
That is incorrect. CC and South Stanley.
It wasn't focus, field of vision. Say it. Field of vision.
Judges.
Let's say it again.
Field of vision.
No, it's incorrect. Looking for whether it's active in the daytime or nighttime. Okay. Hey, CC. Okay. CC and South Stanley, this is your question. In circus history, how many Ringling Brothers were there?
Two.
That is incorrect. McKenna and North Stanley?
3.
That is incorrect. Looking for 5. McKenna and North Stanley, this is your question. During the time of Roman rule in 120 AD, they built walls across northern England to protect themselves against warlike raiders. Parts of one wall still stand. What is that wall called?
The Welsh Wall.
That is incorrect. Austin and South Stanley? Time is up. Looking for Hadrian's Wall. Austin and South Stanley, this is your question. In England's War of the Roses, so called because the emblems for the two royal houses involved were a red rose and a white rose, name the two houses. Time is up. Benjamin and North Stanley.
The Lancaster and York families.
That is correct, and that is the end of the match. Okay, as Al mentioned, whoever wins this is the Quiz Bowl champion. We have Greystone Day School B and West Stanley High School A. So, round 1, questions answered correctly the first time are given 10 points for a correct answer. 5 points goes to a team's opponents if they have the sought-after answer after the first team who was asked the question does not come up with the right answer. Only the person called upon may answer. There's a 5 seconds time limit. You may not consult during this round. As always, please speak up loudly and clearly. Please give as complete an answer as possible. The first response from anyone on your team is considered your team's answer. We begin with William. This is your question. Name the scientists who demonstrated that sunlight is a mixture of light of all colors.
Hubble.
That is incorrect. John? Time is up. Looking for Sir Isaac Newton. John, this is your question. The production of motion in one direction by the release of a high-pressure stream of gas in the opposite direction is called what? Catherine?
Inertia?
That is incorrect. Looking for jet propulsion. Catherine, this is your question. Although originating in China, this art of making decorative objects from folded paper is usually associated with Japan. What is it?
Origami.
That is correct. John, this is your question. In this city, the Jews built the original temple at the site where Abraham offered the sacrifice of Isaac. Name the city.
Jerusalem.
That is correct. Isabel, this is your question. Name the scandal that caused New England's Patriots quarterback Tom Brady's suspension without pay for 4 games by the NFL National Football League, but was later overturned by a judge.
Deflategate.
That is correct. Jonathan, this is your question. What does a pedometer measure?
Step count.
That is correct. Isabel, this is your question. Nick, okay. Nick, this is your question. Name the international society that provides a forum for discussion and activities among highly intelligent people. Time is up. Corbin?
UNICEF.
That's incorrect. Looking for Mensa. Corbin, this is your question. This popular indoor sport, developed in 19th century United Kingdom, is informally known as ping pong. What's its actual name?
Table hockey?
That is incorrect. William?
Table tennis.
That is correct. And that is the end of round 1. Round 2 questions are valued at 20 points. If answered correctly the first time asked, 10 points to that team's opponents if they give the requested response after their opponents fail to do so. You may consult, but only after the question has been addressed directly to your team. You may not consult in any way while the question is being posed to or considered by your opponent. Anybody on your team may answer for your team, but the first response from anybody on your team is considered your team's answer. There's a 10 seconds time limit to give an answer. We begin with Greystone School Team B. William, this is your question. Edgar Rice Burroughs was the writer of a series about this son of an English nobleman. Time is up. John in West Stanley. Time is up. Looking for Tarzan. John in West Stanley, this is your question. His best-selling autobiography is called Up From Slavery. Who is he?
Frederick Douglass.
That is incorrect. Catherine in Greystone. Time is up. Looking for Booker T. Washington. Catherine in Greystone, this is your question. In folklore, what is the name of the ghost ship with a crew of dead men, doomed to sail eternally, never reaching its port?
Davy Jones.
That is incorrect. John in West Stanley?
The Flying Dutchman.
That is correct. John in West Stanley, this is your question. Which United States president commissioned the Lewis and Clark expedition?
Thomas Jefferson.
That is correct. Isabel in Greystone, this is your question. Although this man was indicted for the murder of Alexander Hamilton, he was never arrested.
Aaron Burr.
That is correct. Jonathan in West Stanley, this is your question. He has been dubbed the world's most powerful person by Forbes magazine for 3 years in a row, from 2013 to 2015. Who is he?
Barack Obama.
That is incorrect. Nick and Greystone?
Donald Trump.
That is incorrect. Looking for Vladimir Putin from Russia. Nick and Greystone, this is your question. Astronomers believe that this outer space explosion occurs when close binary stars trigger a nuclear fission. Nuclear fusion. What is it?
Supernova.
Judges?
Supernova. Supernova.
Okay. That's acceptable. Looking for nova, or she said supernova. Corbin in West Stanley, this is your question. Who is the Albemarle native from Albemarle who was the radio play-by-play announcer for the North Carolina Tar Heels football and men's basketball teams for a long time before he recently retired a few years ago? Time is up. William and Greystone.
Graham.
That is incorrect. Looking for Woody Durham. And that's the end of round 2. Round 3 questions are worth 30 points to a team if they're first to be asked the question and give the desired information the right answer. 15 points goes to the opposing team if they come up with the right answer after their opponents fail to do so. You may consult, but only after the question has been directly addressed to your team. You may not consult in any way while the question is being posed to or considered by your opponent. Anybody on your team can answer the question, but the first response from anybody on your team is considered your team's answer. There's a 10 seconds time limit to give an answer. We begin with William and Greystone. This is your question. During the 1920s, an influential group of writers, actors, and intelligentsia met at New York's Algonquin Hotel for lunch and came to be known by what name? Time is up. John in West Stanley.
Harlem Renaissance.
That's incorrect. Looking for Algonquin Round Table. John in West Stanley, this is your name. In this poem, the inhabitants of a Midwestern town cemetery tell about their past lives. Time is up. Catherine and Greystone. Time is up. Looking for a Spoon River Anthology. Catherine and Greystone, this is your question. Silver Hill, the first operating silver mine in the United States, opened in 1838 in this North Carolina county. What's the county?
Hoke.
That is incorrect. John in West Stanley.
Durham.
That is incorrect. Looking for Davidson County. John in West Stanley, this is your question. Porgy and Bess, one of the few American operas that has achieved worldwide fame, was written by George Gershwin and takes place where?
New York.
That is incorrect. Isabel and Greystone.
Chicago.
That is incorrect. Looking for Charleston, South Carolina. Isabel and Greystone, this is your question. This Stanley County town was formerly called Bilesville.
Locust.
That is incorrect. Jonathan in West Stanley.
I think so.
Agudelo?
That is incorrect. Looking for New London. Jonathan in West Stanley, this is your question. Scientists who study caves are known as what?
Caveologist.
That is incorrect. Isabel and Greystone.
Cryptology.
That is incorrect. Looking for spelunkers or a speleologist. Okay. Am I at Isabel? Or Nick? Okay. Nick and Greystone, this is your question. Most often known by one name, Michelangelo also had a last name. What was his last name?
Andreo.
That is incorrect. Corbin in West Stanley.
Donatello.
That is incorrect. Looking for a Buonarroti. Corbin in West Stanley, this is your question. Ska, S-K-A, is a popular music form that originated in what country?
Sweden?
That is incorrect. William and Greystone.
Russia.
That is incorrect. Looking for Jamaica. And that's the end of the match.
No.